We can't forget to tell all the lovely listeners out there that they can find us on iTunes, Podbean, and Google Play. And if you want to talk to us, have a little like one-on-one time, like teacher-student time, you can find us on Twitter with Topher over here, his app being Cochran108, while I'm J Mendel94. Let's giddy up and get on with the show. And we're here for the 5th episode of the In the Hunt podcast. My name is Jake Mendel, and I'm joined by I think he's on the grid now, the one and only Topher Cochran. How we doing, man?
Yes, I am on the grid right now. I'm 100% on the grid, aware that I have hashtag on the grid. But Jake, can you please just explain to me why you wanted to discuss this whole on the grid, off the grid hashtag movement that you kind of started for about 10 minutes?
So the biggest issue here, we were both on vacation in the last week, so we had like 7 easy days. We're like, all right, we're kind of on cruise control. And here I am scrolling through Twitter, and lo and behold, Topher decides to tweet hashtag on the grid, off the grid. No, he tweets off the grid. Dude, literally tweeting off the grid is like the same thing as going to the gym and taking a selfie. It's the same thing as posting a salad before you eat the salad. It's the question, if you don't post it on social media, did you actually ever do it?
Yeah, I guess. So like you're saying that if you tweet a picture of a salad, you're basically saying, hey everyone, I'm eating a salad.
Exactly.
If you take a selfie at the gym, it's basically acknowledging, it's telling everybody I'm at the gym.
Right.
Well, in this case, Jake, I actually was, technically I was off the grid. I don't know. I was off the grid. But
if you're posting...
The thing is, the house I was staying at was artificially on the grid due to Wi-Fi.
Every house has Wi-Fi.
But my point is it's 21st century now, and so off the grid just means you only have Wi-Fi in your house to make it where you could find out what's going on. Like, Wi-Fi is what makes people on the grid from now on, because yes, I was off the grid, but you know what? I wanted to be on the grid because I cared, Jake. And I wanted to let everybody know at the same time, hey, where I'm staying, I don't get cell phone reception. But you know what I can do? I can tweet. And that's more important, okay? Tweeting is more important than cell phone reception.
It's incredible because up here in Massachusetts, not only are there places where you don't have cell phone service, this might blow your mind, but there are also places that don't have Wi-Fi. So you can, in fact, be in the middle of the forest, and then you can tweet hashtag off the grid. But in that scenario, I guess it'd only be saved in your drafts. But the point remains.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, where I was, like, we were driving, I was on vacation, so I was going through mountains, and so I would lose cell phone reception. And I got aware of it. This is a sneaky veteran move right here. Before you go and lose cell phone reception, pod up your GPS on your phone or your Google Maps or your Waze apps. Pod that up, and it gives you it gives you the location of where you're at. And all you gotta do is just follow roads. So at that point, you're just Magellan when you have Google Maps yelling at you. But let me ask you this question, Jake. How do you feel? I always feel awkward when the first thing I do when I go to an establishment or someone's house is, what's the Wi-Fi password? Like, I feel terrible asking it because it's basically saying, hey, I'm acknowledging that I really don't want to talk to you the entire time.
I usually wait for the first awkward silence. There was like an episode of Seinfeld when Jerry had to break up with a girl because there was never a break in the conversation. Like, they just talked all the time. They never did anything else. And that's the way I look at like the Wi-Fi password. This moment you both stop talking, the moment like you see something funny on TV, that second you're like, hey man, let me get the Wi-Fi password.
And the best part about the Wi-Fi password is phones these days are pretty much unlimited in data, right? And so you're just asking, hey, can I just steal your Wi-Fi? I don't get the point of it. I mean, maybe I guess like the house that you're in or the place that you're in doesn't have full cell phone reception or data. But yeah, you ever noticed that? Like, for me, I feel awkward, but I don't care anyways. I just ask it. It's getting the point across. Like, I don't want to talk the entire time. I'm very neutral, just like Jay Cutler and very Cavallari. I'm just very neutral. You know what? I'll talk to you, but I don't want to commit to a conversation just yet.
The most shameful thing I've done is when I've asked for the Wi-Fi password in a bar. Because they're...
Oh, yes, because you're only there for one reason, and that's to have an adult beverage.
Exactly.
And you're clearly saying, I'm going to have an adult beverage, and I'm going to tweet. Because that's what we have, I mean, that's what I asked for, is just so I can get, like, Twitter, like a Twitter signal. As if it's not a cell phone signal, a Twitter signal.
I just want to make sure I know the second the Miami Heat trade Hassan Whiteside. I need to jump into that joyful bliss the second it happens, and
It's bad. It's bad. Yep. It's bad when you get the notifications. I got the notifications to my phone and to my Apple Watch. Yes, I'm saying I have an Apple Watch. So like I'll do the double take of like my legs vibrating. Gotta look at the watch. Once I look at the watch, all right, Josh Hart, Lakers news, don't care. All I'm right now is full-on Woj mode or Shams mode with Hassan Whiteside, Carmelo Anthony, anything that involves Heat movement.
Yeah, and you kind of brought up like a fun question to bring this back to the Dolphins a little bit. When you said who was the comparison that the Dolphins signed, like if the Heat signed Carmelo Anthony, and I instantly thought Greg Jennings. You know, everyone is like, oh, little gas in the tank. But wasn't his highlight at the end of a game when they were kneeling like to run out the clock and he was doing like poses in the back?
Yeah, it's not that. Yeah, that wasn't embarrassing. That was just cool. Like because the thing is when it comes to the Dolphins is like I guess they were known they were known to sign old players, you know, at the back end of their career, and you know I would say what's it called like Thurman Thomas is like the poster boy for it.
Right.
But, you know, now, like, that's what they're kind of, like, ripped for is, like, oh, just another guy they overpaid to do nothing. Like, that's really, that's like sports radio cliche. Like, oh, Dolphins just signed a guy in free agency who's just going to collect a paycheck and do nothing in Miami. And that got me thinking, yes, like, who were, like, you know, if the Heat were to go after Carmelo, like, to me, like, no, I'd rather just go with, you know, Justice Winslow and Josh Richardson and just play the young guys out rather than pay someone like Carmelo to just steal away minutes.
Really? I kind of like the storyline. I think it'd be an interesting storyline.
Oh, it gives them cachet a little bit, right? Like, it makes them interesting.
I'll eat up the Heat culture Carmelo storyline. Like, oh my God, I'll eat it up like there's no tomorrow. That would be the.
Oh, it'll happen when you see like him start getting ripped. Like, all it takes is him just to show like a workout picture.
Oh my God. Can we take
hoodie
Meadow?
In a hoodie.
Hoodie
Meadow with like cut sleeves.
Cut sleeves, and then on it just says hashtag Heat culture. Can we make this Photoshop?
I'm sure we can. The minute he comes into Miami, if he comes to Miami. But like, I mean, you said Greg Jennings. Obviously, like he's probably the most like him, Arian Foster, Mario Williams are the most recent like signings, right? That you would say.
I was kind of thinking Chad Johnson. But then
he didn't even last that long. Like we didn't know like the whole point is you have to see the person play to be like to like know like all right like yeah he's actually terrible. Chad Johnson just didn't make it. Like I mean he got in trouble and Philbin got rid of him. But yeah like I mean Mario Williams I guess for me and he showed like the one game which is what you want out of the he's just here to collect a paycheck because you got to show the one game of hope. It's all about the one game and one play of hope. And Arian Foster and Mario Williams did it in the same game against Seattle.
Remember that I know exactly. Yeah, that Arian Foster run. Remember how slow he looked?
Yes.
Oh,
yes. And you're like, bad. No wonder he retired like a couple of weeks later.
Because that's the one highlight. They probably showed him that play over. It's like Arian, how can we like do this again? He's like, dude, I don't know. I went super slow and still my hammies were dying. So I don't even know.
Yeah. I ran like I had poop in my diaper. like that's what it looked like. He had like a wet diaper. You know when you have a little kid in the pool and they tell you not to put the kid in the pool with a diaper because that diaper is just going to swell up. That's what Arian Foster looked like against Seattle. But
true.
You know, yeah, like that's kind of it. Like is Jay Cutler the guy? Was Jay Cutler it? Or like, were we just totally self-aware? Like, yes, this is exactly what's going to happen, and we're ready to buckle up for the ride.
That Jay Cutler might be the best one because I think it's kind of in that same boat. I think you're right. Just because we know it's not going to be great. We know.
I think we embraced it with Jay Cutler, though. Like, I think if you got mad at Jay Cutler playing quarterback, then you're taking this whole thing way too serious because Jay Cutler right out of the gate was like, yes, I'm Jay Cutler, and I really don't care.
There's
and you saw it.
His jersey.
Yes, and by the way, Jake, when I saw like his little clips on his on that show on I was like, I really got to try to find a Jay Cutler jersey on clearance now.
Yeah.
Because he was like my spirit animal when I saw that.
I'm just ahead of the game. And all y'all made fun of me, but having a Jay Cutler jersey is going to be the coolest thing ever. Also, one more comparison to Carmelo. Maybe like a David Garrard. Some guy comes in.
Oh my God, yeah, but he got hurt.
Yeah, couldn't you see Carmelo coming here? He's set with OKC. He comes in, plays like 5 games, and then he's just like, I'm hurt. I'm not really feeling it.
David Garrard's excellent. When you know you got to start Tannehill, you know you have to start Tannehill, and you're going with David Garrard as your guy until he gets hurt.
Speaking of Ryan Tannehill, we need to have a talk because actually I never knew we'd have this talk.
I didn't know either. Like I'm still shocked. Like when you showed me this.
So I'm gonna.
I had no idea.
Real quick, and it's from the account at Miracle Whip with the blue check mark, so it's verified. And it goes, he is replying to a tweet to at Matt Moore's burner account, because Dolphins Twitter loves that stuff. It's hilarious, of course. But Matt Moore is Miracle Whip, and Rai Tannehill is mayonnaise. First of all, have you ever called him Rai?
I don't think I've ever called him anybody in their mind, that I know. Rai, Jake. Like, I don't think I could never do that.
Can we become Rai guys? Hashtag Rai.
You want to start it?
I think we should.
That's my Rai. That's my guy. That's my quarterback. That's my Rai.
That's my Rai. But why is Miracle Whip talking about? First of all, why is a mayonnaise knockoff talking about quarterbacks? One of the most toxic conversations in like the football culture. Why is Miracle Whip talking about it?
Well, I mean, where do we rank Miracle Whip in terms of condiments?
Dude, it's not even on the list. Never once. If I see anything else, I will take it over Miracle Whip.
Really?
If you were to start throwing out stuff, I mean, I don't think there's anything I'd take like after Miracle Whip. Everything would be before.
I will say though that when someone like you're at dinner with someone, it's usually when you have a hamburger. And you ask the waiter or waitress, hi, can I please have some mayonnaise? And they give you like the mayonnaise in the little saucer.
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about? It looks disgusting.
It
looks horrendous.
Have you ever seen the movie Undercover Brother?
I've seen bits and pieces of it, but I would love for you to tell me.
I couldn't eat mayonnaise for like months after watching that movie because there's just like parts where they're just taking like handfuls of mayo right out of the jar and just stuffing it in their mouths, and it's the grossest thing ever.
It's nasty. It's nasty because it's like goopy. It's like big old like you can't explain what mayonnaise is like, but it's horrible.
And take that and make a knockoff version, and you have Miracle Whip. Who would ever want that? Like, I don't know, man. Mm-hmm. And so just to make like a little metaphor here, Ryan Tannehill is to mayonnaise versus Matt Moore is to Miracle Whip. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I feel like that's a confident. I feel confidence with that comparison.
It's the backup quarterback you never want taking the field.
And the thing is like mayonnaise isn't like on your like you said, it's not on your list.
It's like, not on your like top 5 condiments.
Like what do you put on a burger? I put on ketchup, mustard, or barbecue sauce.
Dude, actually, burger's not a good one because I will throw some mayo on a burger.
Well, yeah. Well, outside of that, you don't put mayonnaise on anything. You literally don't. It's literally just made from beef.
Exactly. That's 100%. Just that. It's not like a ranch. You can have like a salad or even
one-trick pony. Classic one-trick pony condiment.
There it is.
Classic one-trick pony. All right. It's just basically having a white receiver that just plays deep ball. That just goes for the deep ball every time. Can't do anything else. Classic one-trick pony. It'll be around the league for a while, like Ted Ginn. But, it only serves one purpose. just to be thrown on a hamburger.
It gets old and stale after a little while. A couple uses.
Yeah. Oh, God. One-trick pony of condiments. Mayonnaise.
So, I think I'm gonna take our flag, the In the Hunt flag, and I'm gonna spear it into this little island we call
Spirit. Okay.
Mediocrity. We are the first anti-Bill Barnwell podcast. So we in our group chat earlier got a message from our boy Donnie. Shout out Donnie, and he it was just Bill Barnwell's power rankings of each team's weapons. It doesn't include quarterback and doesn't include scheme. So I'm like, okay, here we go. And I like scroll for a minute, and it's like jump down to your team so you don't have to like scroll through the whole thing. I'm like, okay, I'll click on the Dolphins, and I was thinking, okay, I'll go down to like 24, 23. Literally,
you're content with that. You're content with 24.
Yeah, that's understandable. Literally, I hit it, and my screen moved slowly, just like 2 inches, and there were the Dolphins sitting at 31. And I was like, oh, okay, here we are. So, and last year, Barnwell had them ranked second or third, one of the two. But now they're 31st. Can you believe that?
Well, the whole thing with like the best part about that about your summary of it is that you're completely content with them being bad, but dear God, if they're terrible, like when you said 24, like you're like, yeah, I can respect that. Like I respect that. Like I acknowledge, they're that. But when you say 31, not gonna fly. No fly zone here. No fly zone here.
Get that out of my face. How dare you call us horrible? We are mediocre. We know it. Nothing more, nothing less. And like when we look at this too, the first thing they do, or Barnwell does, is he mentions how running back Jay Ajayi is gone and replaced by 35-year-old Frank Gore. First of all, no, because Ajayi was the starter and Drake's starting. Second of all, Ajayi scored 1 touchdown last season. If Gore comes in and does that, cool. All right, then if that's the case, I'll be like, all right, Barnwell, you got me. You got me on that one. Then he goes on to mention tight end Julius Thomas whispered a 388-yard, 3-touchdown season. That was terrible. And they mentioned how Gesicki was drafted, but they never drafted a tight end's never been drafted who had more than 700 yards in the season. Topher, wouldn't Dolphins fans like already put Gesicki in the Hall of Fame if he scores 5 touchdowns and has 500 yards?
I'd put him in I'd put him in the Ring of Honor with 1 touchdown. Seriously, I'm not expecting much from a rookie tight end in general. So anything above 300 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns, I'll take. I'm dead serious. This is Dolphins football, man. Dolphins football, okay? When you get anything close, like when you say tight end, you're literally saying 1 game of 1 catch for 40 yards and a touchdown, and then that's it for the rest of the season. Like that is it. So anything above that is Ring of Honor. He can quit for all I care after that.
And it's just a nice bow on the present, the 1 touchdown. And that 1 touchdown with 40 yards, it includes 2 times when he's wide open going over the middle for a seam pass, and he's just barely overthrown. So we're thinking, well, technically he should have had 3 touchdowns, but he didn't.
I mean, the Julius Thomas yesterday, stat line, and Barnwell actually references the tight end Julius Thomas whispered through a 388-yard, 3-touchdown season. That is Dolphins tight end right there. That is a Dolphins tight end.
Yep.
But so anything close to that for Gesicki is I'm not shocked. In fact, if I'm, it would not shock me though. This is where I might hedge everything. This is where I'm hedging it. If he's a guy who has low yardage, but a higher touchdown output.
Right.
All right. Where if he has 400, 500 yards receiving and 7 touchdowns. All right. That won't shock me at all. But I'm just kind of taken back by the whole losing Jarvis Landry is some huge thing. It's a, you know what I mean? It's a right. Huge piece, some huge weapon the team was missing, or
exactly.
Will miss.
We could argue that Amendola and Wilson. For the sake of this argument, let's say they don't equal Landry's production.
In what? In terms of what? Like receptions, yards,
touchdowns, yards per average catch. We'll even say that. Barnwell had the Dolphins at 3 last year with Ajayi, Landry, Parker, and Stills. That's enough to drop like 28 spots. That losing Jarvis Landry is that important. They go on to say that Kenny Stills had the least efficient season of his career when he averaged 14.6 yards a carry. You realize how inefficient that is when you're averaging a first down and a half every
Yeah, that's
catch?
what you want.
Exactly.
Like, that's basically like to me, I have zero worries about Kenny Stills.
And
as far as Devontae Parker, it's actually pretty spot on. Like, I was really on board with Devontae Parker last year. Like, Jay Cutler was throwing him piss rockets in training camp. I was pumped. All right. He had the one play. I think it was against was it against the Cowboys? No, the Eagles. The Eagles. It was against the Eagles in preseason, where like Cutler found him on the sideline and he made a play. He didn't score, but it was just like it was a big play where you're like, all right, like that's what I expect from Devontae Parker. And like he just keeps getting hurt. Like he'll fall down and sprain an ankle. So like he's the most frustrating thing. But like it's just like overall like, I just don't get the whole like it's not like the Dolphins are starting like Jay Cutler back there.
Right.
Like literally, like that's what I just don't. I don't mind like the criticism of the team because they're not that good. I don't, like I said, at best they're probably a 9-17, which isn't really saying much. But like I don't get the whole like 3-13, 2-14 analysis. That's the part I just don't get because you have to be freaking terrible. Like David Fales has to start the entire season for you to go 3-13. Seriously,
you might still win 5 games with David Fales.
Yeah, and that's just because they're going to run the ball like crazy,
right?
And the defense will somehow play better than you think they should,
right?
But yeah, I just don't understand it. Like Jay Ajayi, like he's a running back. We spent all year long saying how running backs are like have no value in fantasy football. So you trade one, and it's like, oh, now the Dolphins are really going to miss him,
right?
Like, and then we'll also say how offensive linemen basically predict the success of a running back, right? Like it's fair to say that if you have a good offensive line, your running game is going to be pretty good.
You would think.
Like, I think the Dolphins' offensive line is slightly better than last year. You lose Pouncey, which I don't get either. Like, why are they criticizing losing Mike Pouncey? Is it because he has like when you go Pro Football Reference, it has Pro Bowls next to his name? The dude has a horrible hip. Like his hit, like, and so that's the stuff I don't get. Like. You're criticizing everything based off like losing certain positions.
Right.
A center.
It's
they
like
traded for one.
And the Dolphins were like they were so mediocre with like that core. So why not just try something different? Why do you think that like they'll be so much worse just by like switching out these pieces when Pouncey didn't play a lot? It's just tough to think about, and it's just really strange that. You can say like 5-11, I get, but just like worst team in the league, I just still have such a hard time like wrapping my head around that. And like, can you name a single wide receiver on the Bills
or the Cowboys?
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously, like you're supposed to tell me the Cowboys are better with? Is it just because they have Ezekiel Elliott? Like they have Allen Hurns and Tavon Austin. The Bills, Kelvin Benjamin, Travis Clay. Like, Shady McCoy, we don't know if he's going to play right now.
Right.
But, like, these are the things I just don't get. Like, you go to Seattle with Doug Baldwin. Yes, Doug Baldwin would be the best receiver on the Dolphins. But, like, Ed Dixon, like, you lose Jimmy Graham and you sign Brandon Marshall.
I'd take Parker over Marshall any day of the week. I'd take Jakeem Grant on my roster over Brandon Marshall. But, Topher, you still there?
I just can't believe he said that. I left it silent. I wanted that to sit there.
Okay, that's fair.
That's a take. That is a take. Because the thing is it'll take 2 Jakeem Grants to literally equal the size of Brandon Marshall. And you went out and said, you know what, I'll take him right now, straight up.
And it'd take 3 Brandon Marshalls to have the same amount of touchdowns as Jakeem Grant.
So you need Brandon Marshall to be like 10 foot. No, he's 6'5". So actually, what? 18 feet?
Exactly.
You would need Brandon Marshall to be 18 feet tall to equal 1 touchdown of Jakeem Grant.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, Jakeem Grant plays like he's 18 feet tall. Like, let's be honest here. But, hey, we've been ranting a lot, but I don't know if you know this. Rookies report in less than a week.
Woo!
So I was thinking, how about we introduce our guest for a little Dolphins fantasy, little Dolphins Madden, and a little food talk. How do you feel about that?
I'm on board. I'm ready. I'm ready for it. Who's our buddy? Who's our friend?
We're gonna introduce right now the one and only from the Phinsider, Joshua Houtz, aka my dad. And a little breaking news real quick, our own Matthew Kanata is reporting to us that Joshua Houtz is covered in beer. And we have him on the line. Houtz, can you confirm this?
Yeah, man, I was getting ready to walk upstairs to come to the man cave to do this podcast with you and Tofu, and I had a couple beers in me. I put a beer on my laptop. I was trying to balance that with a couple other things, and I spilled that shit all over the floor, all over my belly button, all over my laptop. So that's the current state that I'm in. Matthew Kanata, his sources are second to none, and that was some fast reporting on his part.
How's your belly button?
It's sticky, and it's what a belly button is. I mean, there's a little bit of hair around it. It's sticky. It might be knotted, but I'll deal with that after this podcast.
Knotted.
Sounds like a sticky situation we got going on over here.
Yeah.
And
not the good kind.
Not the good kind. And Houtz, I'm going to give you this title. You cannot deny it. You are officially, before we get started here, you are officially the In the Hunt Madden and fantasy expert. So you can put that on job resumes from now on. How do you feel?
LinkedIn.
I'm changing my profile as we speak. I'm definitely going to add that to it.
Yeah, put it on LinkedIn. Anyway, mainly LinkedIn, because I find LinkedIn the best job source, best place to get a job is put on LinkedIn. And you got to put also Madden correspondent as well, because that's what we have you on, to talk fantasy and Madden.
And
I am honored. Absolutely honored.
I'm going to start with an easy one for you. You wanted one of the early codes so you could play Madden early, and you were doing everything you could to find one. How shameful was it to upload a video, like basically just begging for a code?
It was extremely shameful. I'm 31 years old. I just recently had a daughter. I'm married. I went to work. I came home. I saw that, and I said to my wife, do you think I should make this video? She's like, just go for it. I'm sitting here. I'm recording shit in my man cave, 3-4 takes. It was extremely shameful, and then to have to go and upload it. It ended up winning me a beta code. I got to play the game. It was fun, but at the end of the day, it was extremely shameful, and I wouldn't wish that upon anyone.
Now, yeah, that's pretty bad. But you know what? I'm waiting.
It was sad.
It's
essentially a roster update. Yeah, it's essentially a roster update. Like I went out there. I should have just running down the street naked for a freaking roster update where I got to throw, street passes to freaking Mike Jasicki because, you could go online and download a roster update where someone created a better version of him. So I really don't know what I was doing, but I did it, and I'm sorry. I am not sorry. It was worth it.
Apologize.
It was embarrassing.
Well, the thing is like I love Madden. I buy it every single year. I can't remember a year when I have not bought it, to be honest with you. Like I can't remember a year I used to wait out in front of a GameStop at like midnight. Like that was like my thing.
Yep.
Well, that was the thing back then when Madden was like Madden. Yeah, the cool kids.
Madden was Madden back in
you put $10 down, at least $10 down at your local GameStop, and you sit outside at like Tuesday night or Wednesday night with a bunch of other nerds as well. And my favorite nerd was the one who wore the jersey to GameStop.
Dude, I always wore the jersey. My Brian Hartline jersey. Come on.
But do you guys remember, like, they started giving out, like, swag? They gave out, like, little samples of, like, Axe body wash and stuff there. GameStop.
Yeah.
So you're sitting there waiting in line with a bunch of nerds. There's, like, 30 of you. It's, like, 11:30 at night. You're waiting for it to hit midnight, and you're getting Axe body wash and, like, a coupon for, like, an energy drink. You're just like, I don't know. That's where I started. This is where I guess I finished. I mean, I'm 31 making freaking Madden videos to get a beta code. So thanks for putting my life into perspective.
But the thing with Madden is I buy it every year. Easy like $63 I'm losing every year. Put that in as expenses. But my beef with it is it's always the same exact game, like you said. It's just you're paying for the roster update, and maybe Ryan Tannehill will look a little more jacked.
They get us every time. They get us every time.
Sucker us. when the game is like, it's just an average football game, but there's no other football game out there that like it's like they've basically monopolized the football sport, the sport of professional football in terms of video games. And you get it, you play it, and whenever I play, I'm hooked into it, and then I realize this is stupid, and I don't touch it for like 6 months, and then comes like the Super Bowl, and I'm like, I got to get the football back in me. But like, yeah, like the game is awesome, but at the same time, it's just awesome because it's football. And that's kind of like my overall like beef with it. Like, it's fun, but there's no changes to it.
And that's it. I mean, we all love football, and every year that's the only freaking game that comes out. I still remember, and this might, I'm old, I get it. ESPN 2K5, I remember T.O. was on the cover in his Eagles jersey. That game came out, it was $20, and it came out like a week before the Madden 2005 that year where they had Ray Lewis on the cover. And that game, I feel like we could go out and buy that game today for, Dreamcast, PS2, Xbox, whatever it was on. And we would probably have more fun playing that than Madden 19 when it comes out. It's freaking sad.
I think that game had like this first-person camera.
It did, yep, and it made you feel nauseous.
It was awesome. Yeah, exactly. Like I was so jacked up for that camera angle that I went to go play with like a running back. And put it this way, if I was an actual running back based off that camera angle, I would have the worst vision ever because you're just running into a guard's ass. Like you're Mark Sanchez. Yeah, you're doing Mark Sanchez, but with video games.
Just over and over again. Yep, that's all it was.
So, Houtz, the other day you posted the Dolphins roster, and I'm curious. First of all, before I get into this, does it bother you? Do you take Madden rankings? Do you put them in the real world at all? Do you say, hey, this team's better because this team's ranked better in Madden? Because I've been seeing that a little bit on Twitter, and it's kind of iffy.
Yeah, you got to I don't know what kind of person you got to be to get pissed off about Madden ratings. You see these guys on here, they're like, oh, I can't believe Ryan Tannehill's a 78. Well, these ratings go off of last season. Ryan Tannehill's knee was applesauce last season. He didn't do anything. He sat there and looked outside the window to watch everyone else practice like Kermit the Frog.
That's so depressing.
It was.
Oh
when everyone got that Bleacher Report notification that Ryan Tannehill like hit a freaking ditch in practice, I think all of our hearts broke then and there. But I mean, you got these guys that are upset that he's a 78 overall. Well, you look at those other guys. I think Patrick Mahomes is right there. A couple other guys. And at the end of the day, I mean, these are Madden ratings. By the beginning of the regular season, by the end of preseason, if Ryan Tannehill plays like we expect him to, I mean, his overall is going to go up. So I think it's ridiculous to get mad at this. I could not even imagine how hard of a job it is to sit there and go through every team's roster, every player, punters, kickers, this dude that's going to get cut by the freaking Patriots, the guy that the Dolphins are going to cut that's going to go up to the Patriots and turn into freaking Randy Moss. You got these different guys that you're sitting there trying to break down, trying to figure out where these attributes go, and then choosing on what their overall is. So I think it's ridiculous to sit there and expect one person to do that. I'm sure there's a group of people that do it, but at the end of the day, there's no reason to get pissed off about it because, Ryan Tannehill's a 78 now. If he finishes the year as a 78 or worse, the Dolphins are probably, 3 and freaking
13.
3 and 13. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do the basic math, and I'm like, is it 3 and 12? Yeah.
Our max expert Topher with that.
3-12 and 1. 3-12 and 1.
So we're 3-12 and 1. Adam Case, he decided to, go to that second overtime and realized he was Andy Reid and there wasn't a second overtime. So we're 3-12 and 1, and we're screwed. So these Madden ratings, they are what they are. Don't put too much stock into it. That's all I got to say.
But just for a quick follow-up, sorry, isn't it kind of bullshit that John Denny's a 48?
That's ridiculous. I don't know what the other long snappers are.
That is.
Someone needs to write an article about the long snappers, like each team, all 32 long snappers, and see where John Denny adds up. I might have to do that when we get off here.
I think
now,
assuming my computer works.
Now, my thing is the good thing about Madden, and this is basically because of the era we're in, is these rosters consistently, they update. Basically, if Ryan Tannehill goes out week 1 and has 4 touchdowns, you're going to want to go ahead and keep those rosters for the rest of the year because then he's going to be like an 87. Okay?
Gotcha.
Because like you're catching him at like a peak. I remember when like Noshawn Marino after that Patriots game was a baller in Madden until he dislocated his elbow. But I will say this, shameless admission here. When they have those speed ratings, I've always wondered, all right, like what does a 4.40 equal in terms of Madden speed? I once sat down and clocked Ricky Williams on my phone while I put him in like instant replay to clock his 40 time.
Oh my! Really? Oh my God!
You didn't do
really?
that. Please tell us.
Yes. I once clocked.
Did you do it Madden then? Did you run a play in Madden and sit there and clock the?
I made sure that he was on a clean breakaway, that he was on a clean run, where he had 40 yards.
You plugged in the 2 controllers on Rookie, and you just were like, all right, I'm going to do this sweep with Ricky, and I'm going to time his ass.
Well, I mean, do you remember when, like, I don't know, when PS3 came out a while back, they had Madden come out on it, and it was terrible. I want to say it was a terrible Madden game. But they had, like, the 40-yard dash you could actually run with your guys. So it was
was it with the joysticks? Was it with the joysticks?
Yes. You had to like flip your left and right trigger up and down.
Terrible.
And your guy looked horrible. It was the worst Madden game I've ever played. But yeah, that's the thing I've sat down and played with it, and also like the thing is like the Dolphins I think they're 74th overall as a team ranking in Madden.
Yep.
Like if they're good, if they're 8-8, they're gonna be like probably a 79, and then. You know, if they get better, the ranking is just going to keep going up. But for right now, like, it's the easiest. Like, that's what makes video games good. And that's why it kind of, like, makes us where we have, like, a perception about a player is because in Madden, there's an actual, like, ranking to the player. All right? So, like, you know, if a guy has an 80, you know, is an 88 overall and he's pretty good and he's, you know, pretty good in real life, you're like, yeah, it makes sense. Like, that's why we buy into the ratings, though. But, like, can you explain to me why, like, Danny Amendola is the highest-rated wide receiver on the Dolphins? I don't get it.
Yeah, I can't explain that. I don't know if it's because he played in New England or if it's because he's a very good white wide receiver. I have no idea why Madden made him an 85 overall. I mean, I looked at the ratings. He's by far the best receiver on the roster, and to think that a guy who, you know, he could take one hit, you would hope Madden. If it's in the game, it's in the game. I mean, he takes one hit, he's probably he's probably getting a concussion. I mean, his brain's pretty much applesauce. He is what he is. So, I mean, an 85 overall, I just don't see it. I think Kenny Stills should be rated higher.
You would think so, right? Just
you would
based
think,
off like popular demand. Like,
and see, that's what I don't understand. Like, do these guys, they look at the 32 NFL teams, but do they like kind of focus on those top 12, top 15 teams, and then you know what, say like, screw the Dolphins. You know, they're 74 overall.
I think it's the sliders.
Yeah,
just messing with the sliders.
It has to be because I mean, how the hell is Danny Amendola? I mean, this guy is. I can't believe the Dolphins gave him the contract they did. I mean, you saw him mic'd up. We all got excited for that. We were ready to run through a wall for a guy who we hated last season. So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, if he's the best receiver on this team by the end of the year, then we'll admit that we were wrong. But I just don't see him being better than Kenny Stills. And, you know, hopefully Devontae Parker, the guy who he's supposed to have a breakout for the last 3 years, and we're still waiting. So, I don't understand that. I can't explain it. You'd have to, you know, tweet out to EA or something. Maybe get them on your podcast next week.
Houtz, we're 7 days, well, depending when this comes out, probably 6 or 7 days away from rookies reporting to training camp. Which rookie on the Dolphins has you throwing jazz hands all over the place? Which one are you willing to bet Houtz money on that they're going to have a great year?
Yeah, but I feel like it's an easy answer because, I mean, I've been pretty stoked since Minka got drafted by the Dolphins. I was a guy who was hyping up Baker Mayfield. You know, I changed my Abby to him grabbing his wiener, whatever you want to say. I mean, he went to the Browns first overall. You had to kind of expect him going top 5, but then you'd never expected Minka Fitzpatrick. I dug up old tweets. I said, you know, he'd have to fail a drug test to end up in Miami. He ends up becoming a Dolphin. I think what he can do, you know, at free safety, come down and play nickel. He can come down the box and, you know, help out there. I think he's going to be one of the best players on the defense, if not the entire team. So, I mean, I'm throwing up jazz hands for that. Having a real tight end, I mean, Jordan Cameron, he was okay. Charles Clay, he was okay. Deion Sims, you know, he was okay. Got paid by Chicago. Julius Thomas was trash. He was pretty much fat Brandon Albert, but slower, can't run routes. So, I mean, you bring in Mike Gesicki, a big body. Everyone wants to call him, what'd you guys call him? I think it's going around, he's Get Sexy. I think you guys might have had a name for Gesicki. He's a guy who, you know, should completely transform this offense. If Mike Gesicki can become what, you know, a poor man's Rob Gronkowski in Miami, this offense is going to take off and do big things. So I think the easy answer is Minka Fitzpatrick. but then I'm going to go with Mike Gesicki because I think what he can do ultimately to that offense is going to be maybe the difference in the 2018 season.
I'll say that Jake and I actually had a conversation before you were on about Dolphins tight ends. And if Mike Gesicki could just have 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, that's a success for me as a rookie tight end. Like
that's
because
historically
they are terrible. Like the Dolphins are terrible when it comes to the tight ends. You named it. Jordan Cameron, scrambled eggs. Deion Sims literally got scrambled eggs at one point. Like these guys, they get these guys and they have these guys who are just not good, or they get them at the wrong time of their career, and they're not good. And so like now they finally got a guy who has actual like upside and who can actually grow as a player.
And doesn't have a stupid face. Shout out Michael.
Yeah, he doesn't have a stupid face either.
He's handsome. He's very handsome.
But like, would you now like I want to ask you some fantasy questions real quick, all right? So I love Kenyon Drake, and he's the guy that like you draft him and you feel pretty good about him. But like if you draft him, he's also like you got to like deal with him getting hurt. Like where would you draft him at?
It's funny you asked that because before this I went on, I think it was a fantasy football calculator and tried to bring up the average draft positions for some of these guys because I knew we were going to talk about fantasy. Personally, I'm in a keeper league. I think you keep 4 keepers every year. I traded Devontae Freeman for Kenyon Drake. I may have been drunk. I'm not sure. Devontae Freeman has concussion concerns. I mean, I finished first. I finished second in this league. So I'm like, it's a $50 league. I may as well go out there and be the homer. But immediately after I did it, like I started to regret it because you see, like you said, Kenyon Drake. He played fine at the end of last season, but he's also had these injury concerns, which is the reason that he ended up in Miami. You got Frank Gore. You had to have brought him in for a reason. You got to assume he's going to snipe some of those carries. And Kalen Ballage, again, a player who, he had a pretty successful college career. You got to expect him to see some snaps. Fantasy football calculator, Kenyon Drake is being drafted in the late 4th round. So, he's being drafted between Jay Ajayi and Sony Michel in a PPR league. I love Sony Michel. I think he's probably the only Patriot that I'm like got a super hard on for. Jay Ajayi, that was my boy, but at this point, I hope his knees explode. I hope it's like that, at the beginning of Inspector Gadget where he reads the freaking memo and throws it into the detective's like safe and it explodes. I hope that's Jay Ajayi's legs. I hope they implode. They got to rely on Corey Clement the rest of the season. So, Kenyon Drake, I'm sorry. It's just who I am. I'm up here. I'm in Eagles country. I had to watch all these SOBs celebrate a Super Bowl. People who do not care about the Eagles as much as I care about the Dolphins, they got to see a Super Bowl. So I'm going to hope the worst upon them. So let's hope Jay Ajayi's knees just, freaking TNT dynamite explode. But back to the question, Kenyon Drake drafted late 4th round. You have to assume that he's going to get sniped by Frank Gore. You have to assume that, Kalen Ballage is going to see snaps. But ultimately, if he's getting drafted in the 4th round, the late 4th, that's pretty good value for a running back 1, maybe even 2. So I like Kenyon Drake there. I don't know about you guys, but I feel pretty confident drafting Kenyon Drake in the late 4th round.
This whole time, sorry to cut you off, Toph. One came to mind because you mentioned Ballage. For the last couple weeks, I've been joking that Smythe is gonna have one of those like FanDuel games where you pay him, or you pay like the $4,000, like the minimum for him, and you're gonna be a genius because he's gonna have the 2 touchdowns. And he said
you're gonna win a lot of money. You're gonna win a ton of money on that
because he's gonna have like 2 touchdowns on 12 yards and like 2 receptions. It's gonna be incredible. Who do you think's more likely to have that big game early in the season? Because I know as the season goes on, let's say that it's like 2015 when they had Arian Foster. You thought he'd have a role for a while, but he diminished. And even Gore, maybe they might use him a lot more in the beginning of the season compared to later of the season. So we'll keep this like the first 4 to 6 weeks of the season. Who do you think's more likely to have like that really big game that nobody sees coming? Ballage at the running back position or Smythe at tight end?
Damn, that's a good one. I'm going to go with Smythe. I think he's obviously the blocking tight end. I think you keep hearing these comparisons to Anthony Fasano, whether those are legit. It's just media, trying to hype him up. But you bring a guy out there, if that's his main goal is to sit there and block, you got Gesicki in there in those 2 tight end sets. No one's expecting Dermot Smythe, to like go out in the flats and catch a pass. So for me, I think he's going to see more opportunities in this offense than Ballage, at least early on, because You want to think that Frank Gore, I mean, we were all stoked that he came down there. He's going to finish his career in Miami most likely. Very productive player during his time in Indy. Even before that, Miami native. I mean, he's going to come in there, and I think he's going to get some carries. He's going to take a big chunk of those yards away from Kenyon Drake. So I don't know that Ballage early on will get those same opportunities. I mean, we saw Adam Gase. I mean, Kenyon Drake only got opportunities because Damian Williams got hurt. J.J. only got opportunities because Arian Foster got hurt. So I'd rather put my money on Durham Smythe. So I think, within those first 6 weeks of the season, I like the way you think, Jake, because go out there, you get Durham Smythe, you put Ryan Tannehill in there that game. You never know. You might end up with $1,000 on FanDuel and look like a damn genius. Fantasy Pros or one of these other websites are offering you a job to write. So I'd put my money on Durham Smythe earlier in the year.
Now, how long or what has to happen for Dolphin fans and maybe even fantasy and casual football fans to get on board with Devontae Parker to get picked? Like, are we gonna get on another Devontae Parker hype train based off some training camp and a preseason gameplay, or is he completely undrafted? Like, to me, I'm not taking that risk on him again. I was so high on him last year, and then after that, I was just like, you're done with me. But all I know is if I see a couple plays from him in preseason, I'm back in it with him. I'm back.
Yeah, so I heard one of you guys laugh earlier when I said I traded Devontae Freeman for Kenyon Drake. I'm kicking myself in the ass for this. The same keeper league last season, I traded DeAndre Hopkins for Devontae Parker and Joe Mixon. I gotta say this. I finished first in the league. I finished second this year, so I still ended up winning, but what the hell was I thinking, man? I mean, I took all those games with Jay Cutler in preseason. He looked good in that I believe it was the Philly game. I was there in attendance. Drunk as all get out. That was Devontae Parker looked good, and I mean, we all keep hearing, this is his breakout year. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, I like Joe Mixon. I like Devontae Parker. It's not a PPR league, so why not give up DeAndre Hopkins? And that was one of the dumbest decisions I made. I'm kicking myself in the ass. If I could hop in a DeLorean and go back in time, I'd probably not make that trade. But again, I came on before this. I did some research. My fantasy football calculator, they got Devontae Parker being drafted in the late 8th round. He's going between Robert Woods and Jordy Nelson. So, I mean, as a Dolphins fan, like I said, last year I traded DeAndre Hopkins for him. I do not want to make that same mistake again. Devontae Parker's almost undraftable for me. I know Topher said that he kind of feels the same way. But again, you see him go out there, second, third preseason game, he's catching a freaking fade from Ryan Tannehill. He has 2 or 3 good catches. And you're going to draft him, and then he's going to go out there, and I think it was a Tennessee game, and he fought for 2 or 3 extra yards and fucked up his knee. That's what we have to deal with. So, I mean, you hope Devontae Parker's going to go out there, and he's going to become this great savior that we all expect. I mean, I think they picked up his, 5th-year option on him. I mean, they're giving him this chance, but this is the last year that Devontae Parker has a chance to go out there and improve. You can't really expect much with Jay Cutler. I'm sorry, Jake. I know you got the jersey. You're probably wearing it right now as we speak.
Always.
Always. I mean, I'm half tempted. I went on there. I saw that it was on sale, and I'm like, dude, a Jay Cutler jersey is pretty sick, especially with what he's doing with his reality life right now.
Right.
He's becoming a sensation, man. I have it recorded downstairs. I haven't watched it yet. But that's neither here nor there. At the end of the day, Devontae Parker, Dolphin fans, as hard as it is, I mean, I'm saying he's undraftable. Tofu's saying he's undraftable. I don't know how Jake feels on the situation. But if Devontae Parker's there in the 4th, 5th, or 6th round, I'm probably taking him just because, you know what? Hell, I'm a Dolphins fan. What's the worst that could happen? 2017 season? So I'm okay with that. So as much as I want to say don't go out there and overdraft Devontae Parker, if he falls to later rounds, feel confident in doing so.
Right. And, you're kicking yourself about that trade, but, you're 100% right where that preseason, and it seems like it's every year for Parker, he gets, so hyped up, and he looks so great, and we see it even in season, every year. And that DeAndre Hopkins trade. Hopkins had a really down 2015, so that made sense, and no one expected Watson to be as great as he is. So, I mean, I kind of got where you're coming from. And
thank you.
I think it's important. It's not a bad idea to draft Parker, because when you think fantasy, instantly everyone gets really excited for their fantasy draft. But that's not where you win fantasy championships. It's waking up before you go to work and you sit on the toilet for 20-30 minutes picking up free agents. That's what really makes it. So if you want to ride a Parker hype in the 5th, 6th round, especially as a Dolphin fan, I really see that as a possibility. You're 100% right with that one. But we're starting to run out of time a little bit here, so I thought the perfect way to sum up In the Hunt with a Houtz twist a little bit would be talk food. You are Chef Houtz first and foremost, then you're Dolphin fan Houtz, and in the middle of that, you're Daddy Houtz. So we asked you this before. What do you think's the most average, like mediocre food is? Like, what would be the Dolphins of food?
All right, I wrote down a couple things. None of them are very good. The first thing I said was, you go to a restaurant, you buy something. It could be a rack of lamb. It could be, a nice piece of fish.
Rack of lamb.
Yeah, and it's not salted. It's not seasoned at all. You can get it medium. I mean, it's great. But if it's not salted, it's trash. It's pretty much the 8-8 Miami Dolphins. Another thing, fish. I don't know about you guys. I don't really eat much fish. I mean, you got haddock, you got tilapia, you got salmon. You got these different fishes. And for me, it just doesn't do it for me. So I'm thinking the Miami Dolphins, as cliche as it is, it's essentially a piece of fish to me. All fish kind of taste the same. They're take a bite. Damn, you're right. All right, well, let's just pretend they're fish. Let's just pretend they're fish. So the Dolphins are fish. They're not mammals. Yeah, but we're pretending they're fish.
We'll cut that.
Okay.
So fish. I mean, you guys down in South Florida, tofu. I don't know about you, Jake, up north, but down there in South Florida, there's some great fish. Personally, up here, Pennsylvania, there's not that great of fish for me. There's nothing that I can do when I'm eating fish that'll make me, just freaking sit there and finish the whole dish. So for me, fish, that's the 8-8 Miami Dolphins. Lastly, a hot dog. I mean, you can jazz up a hot dog however you want.
Go.
You can jazz up a hot dog however you want. Whether you use a bun, use sriracha, red onion. I said I love a hot dog with sriracha, some red onion, some pickles here and there, whatever it may be. You can put whatever condiment you want on the hot dog. But at the end of the day, it's a hot dog. And that's the Miami Dolphins. You can go out there. This team can sign all these big free agents. Ndamukong Suh a couple of years ago. You can make the trade for Robert Quinn. You go out there and sign have Minkah Fitzpatrick fall in your laps. But at the end of the day, the 2018 Miami Dolphins, they're going to just be a hot dog. They're going to be a team that we love, a team that we will continue to eat. I mean, we're going to eat a hot dog, right? You're going to go to a cookout. No matter what, they got a hamburger there. They got chicken breast there. You're still going to want the hot dog. Whether
you're getting.
Yeah, you know what you're getting. You're going to eat a hot dog just because you know what? Hell, it's a hot dog. I'm going to eat this hot dog. I'm going to jazz it up. It's a hot dog. That's the Miami Dolphins. That's the 8-8 food that I would compare the team to, and that's what it is.
See, I feel that's the way for a hamburger. Like, you know what you're getting with a hamburger.
But don't you prefer a hamburger over a hot dog? Like, I feel like a hamburger's like the Dolphins in the playoffs, Like, they're going to get to the playoffs. You're going to put lettuce, tomato, bacon, cheddar cheese, jalapenos on it, maybe barbecue sauce. But at the end of the day, they're going to get eliminated right away. So that's you jazz up this hamburger. It's probably overcooked. That's the Miami Dolphins.
I hate hot dogs. Like, I 100%.
And that's the Dolphins. You hate the Dolphins. You have to hate the Dolphins. You love them.
Hot dog, whether it's boiled in water or on a grill.
Who the hell boils? If you boil a hot dog in water, you are a terrorist. And you should not be eating hot dogs.
Fact. That is a fact.
Please tell me. I'd rather poke holes in a hot dog and put it in the microwave than boil it. Please tell me, Topher, you do not boil hot dogs.
I do not. I don't eat hot dogs, man. I'm not a hot dog dude.
Yeah, you're jacked. Like, I feel like to be that jacked, you got to just omit hot dogs from your life.
It's a disgust, but I will tell you.
I'm the peasant who ate cold hot dogs when I was little. So
okay.
Hey, that's the Miami Dolphins, man. That was Dan Marino and OJ McDuffie, the freaking cold hot dog that I ate out of the fridge.
That's amazing. See, you got so elaborate with this, with all the different types of food. I was thinking when you're a little drunk and you go get McDonald's, because it tastes so great, but then you just feel like shit after, and I feel like that just kind of summed up the Dolphins.
Right? Like, you take a shower that night, and then as soon as you come out, you gotta take a shit.
Yep.
That's McDonald's.
Yes,
Late at night McDonald's. You nailed it.
That's redefining Victory Monday, if you know what I mean.
I guess I overthought the question. You nailed it.
Well, I mean, the thing is Jake and I had a discussion about it. Like, we were thinking of different types of food that are 8-8 worth. And you kind of hit the nail on the head with fish. I'm not a fish guy, and I've never had amazing fish. My fish I've usually had is like tilapia.
Yeah,
But,
it's just a white fish that is what it is.
See, I thought of also like spaghetti.
I was thinking that too, without sauce, that would be the 8 and 8.
Or just spaghetti and red sauce.
Like a little butter. Okay, you could do red sauce or like butter
Just
and
red
parm,
sauce.
but like, yeah.
No,
You know
no
what? I
Parmesan,
did think of
no
butter
garlic
noodles.
bread.
I did think of butter noodles. So yeah, we're all kind of on the same trajectory there. That's
So basically something that is like that you can cook without actually cooking.
something that is shit. It's like the ramen noodles without that like seasoning packet.
Oh, without it, that seasoning packet is magical. Oh my god.
Yeah, if you don't have that, you're the 8 and 8 Dolphins. That's
The little seasoning packet is your quarterback.
Yes.
All right. The seasoning packet is your quarterback.
But Houtz, thank you so much for coming on. I hope you're excited to be an official employee of the In the Hunt podcast. And we look forward to having you back as, football becomes more relevant in our lives once again.
Yeah, I hope you guys bring me back. This was awesome. I think you guys should. I'm going to send you a bill for this laptop because I spilled a beer on carrying up the steps to do this podcast. So
Take care of your belly button.
I think you guys are legally obligated to pay for it. But thanks again, guys. It was an honor, and I look forward to doing it again in the future.
We'll write it off. It's okay. It's all right. We got you.
Tax.
It's a tax return. Perfect. Thanks, Houtz. Have a good night, man.
You too, guys. Thank you.
Have a good night, buddy. Thank you. That's it for episode 5 of In the Hunt. This is when you would have a bye week come up right after the 5th week of the season. But no, we're not going to have any bye weeks. And in fact, you could actually just catch us on iTunes, Google Play, Podbean. So these are all the places you can, if you're just bored, you want to listen. If you listen to us on the way to work tomorrow, over the weekend, or anywhere else. But yes, Google Play, iTunes, Podbean. We will tweet these out. My Twitter handle is Cochran108. Jake, what is your Twitter handle?
You'll find me at jmendel94.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Fins up.